Just because we're not going to Disneyland for a while doesn't mean we can't still feel the magic. Welcome to MsMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 Disney movies to watch while quarantined.
Anna, I belong here. Alone. Where I can be who I am without hurting anybody.
For this list, we'll be looking at Disney films that people can seek comfort in and identify with while staying inside and practicing social distancing.
You got to go nick those hoes. You got to go nick those hoes.
Number 10. Onward. Chances are that you didn't get to catch this Pixar film in theaters, but it was thankfully given an early release on demand and on Disney+. If you've been playing a lot of role-playing games as of late, Onward will definitely speak to your inner dungeon crawler.
Doth my brother dare disrupt an active campaign?
During these bleak times, we could all use an escape into the realm of fantasy. Of course, Onward does touch upon several heavy themes that are all too real. In addition to grief, the film explores the distance between a family with one member only being half there. Although our protagonist feels a gaping hole inside him, he finds that support is actually closer than he thought.
Just imagine what the top half of this dance looks like. I bet it goes something like this.
By taking this enlightening quest, you may also gain the confidence to move onward.
Put it in O for Onward!
Number 9. MCU Marathon. Ever since Endgame, you've probably been meaning to have an MCU Marathon, be it in chronological order or release order.
Is that everyone? Like you wanted more?
With over 20 films spread across 3 phases though, even the most diehard Marvel fans have struggled to find the time. Well, there's never been a more ample opportunity to binge nearly 3,000 minutes of content, although you'll have to venture outside Disney Plus for a few titles, namely the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies.
You're a very difficult person to contact, Spider-Man.
If you're looking for hope, this cinematic universe has no shortage of heroic moments. From the Avengers defending New York, to T'Challa opening his nation's vast resources to the rest of the world.
But in times of crisis, the wise build bridges, while the foolish build barriers. We must find a way to look after one another.
And now that the Skywalker saga's wrapped up, why not have a Star Wars marathon as well? Number 8. The Little Mermaid.
Ariel, listen to me. The human world, it's a mess.
So this is what it's like being a fish in a bowl. Stuck in the dark fathoms below, Ariel just wants to be where the people are, but she's forbidden by her father from going to the surface.
Not another word! And I am never to hear of you going to the surface again. Is that clear?
As stern as he comes off, King Triton is right to be concerned about his daughter's safety, and Ariel's disobedience does eventually land her in hot water. Nevertheless, we totally get where she's coming from. Now that we're cooped up with nothing but thingamabobs to keep us occupied, walking down the street and lying on the beach feel like luxuries we took for granted.
I want to be where the people are. I want to see them dancing, walking around on those, what do you call them? Oh, feet.
Until we can be part of that world again, we'll just have to look on the bright side of life under the sea.
We got no trouble. Under the sea. Under the sea.
Number 7. Inside Out. Now more than ever, Inside Out is an essential viewing for all ages, particularly children who aren't sure how to feel about all this.
There's absolutely no reason for Riley to be happy right now. Let us handle this.
I say we skip school tomorrow and lock ourselves in the bedroom.
We have no clean clothes. No one should see us.
We could cry until we can't breathe.
While in quarantine, you're sure to experience a wide range of complex emotions. All of us are feeling anger about the events that led us here. Others are afraid of what will happen next in these uncertain times. It's also understandable if you're feeling disgusted after weeks of binge watching on the couch without wearing any makeup. Above all else, people around the world are dealing with sadness.
I'm too sad to walk. Just give me a few hours.
The optimist in us may try to stay positive, which is always admirable. Inside Out reminds us, however, that you're allowed to feel sad, especially when going through a difficult transitional period. Number 6. Frozen.
The window is open, so's that door. I didn't know they did that anymore.
As different as Anna and Elsa are, we can relate to both of these lonely sisters while quarantined. Elsa fears that she's a danger to others, shutting out the rest of the world. Anna's so eager to get out of the castle that she rushes into someone else's arms. There's an important takeaway from both of their character arcs.
A kingdom of isolation, and it looks like I'm the queen.
Anna learns about the consequences of getting too close to someone without thinking things through. While Elsa's ice powers can be hazardous, concealing her feelings only makes matters worse. It isn't until she accepts love and support from others that she's able to get her magic under control. As for what happens after quarantine, Frozen 2 just might help us do the next right thing.
Take a step. Step again. It is all that I can to do. The next right thing.
Number 5. WALL-E. WALL-E is a work of science fiction that's starting to feel more like reality with each passing day. This Pixar film takes place in a post-apocalyptic world that humans neglected to take care of, eventually abandoning it entirely. One of the few sentient beings left on Earth is a robot named WALL-E, who copes with isolation by doing his daily routine and partaking in nostalgic media. Upon arriving on the starship Axiom, WALL-E finds that the remainder of humanity has essentially been quarantined from their planet, even if they don't realize it.
Define hoedown.
Hoedown, a social gathering at which lively dancing would take place.
Oh, Earth is amazing!
Rather than ignore the mistakes of their predecessors, the humans ultimately decide to build a better future where they can all go outside and hold hands with a loved one. Number 4. Home Alone. Of all the films Disney inherited in the Fox acquisition, Home Alone is perhaps the most appropriate to watch during a quarantine. Actually, maybe the Disney Plus reboot should be called Quarantined Alone. Like Kevin McAllister, we bet you're passing the time by watching old movies, eating junk food, and talking to yourself.
What do you mean?
Guys, I'm eating junk and watching rubbish. You better come out and stop me.
Going to the store for supplies can suddenly feel like an ordeal, and if you order pizza, you'll probably tell the filthy animal to leave it on the doorstep.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
You also might be worried about burglars breaking in, and feeling depressed that you haven't seen your family in a while. Even if it's not Christmas, a little holiday cheer is welcome at any time of the year, especially one as stressful as 2020. Number 3. Beauty and the Beast.
When we're human again, only human again, when the world once more stops making sense, I'll unwind for a change.
Really? That'd be strange.
Can I help it if I'm too tense?
If you're going to be quarantined, you can do a lot worse than an enchanted castle. Regardless, years of isolation takes its toll on the Beast, as well as his servants. The Beast's only window into the outside world is a magic mirror, which is essentially the fairy tale equivalent of Zoom. Then there's Belle, who goes from being able to freely walk around her provincial town to being imprisoned in the castle. Belle makes the most of her circumstances, however, with a vast library at her disposal.
I can't believe it. I've never seen so many books in all my life.
Her positive presence rubs off on the staff, who rediscover their passion for the culinary arts, and the Beast, whose spell is broken through the power of love. Just remember, the West Wing is code for Infection Zone.
I warned you never to come here.
I didn't mean any harm.
Do you realize what you could have done?
Please, stop!
Get out!
Number 2. The Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Go on. Nobody wants to be cooped up here forever.
This is easily one of the most underrated Disney movies, and now is the perfect time to revisit it. For starters, it's hard not to identify with Quasimodo, who wants nothing more than to leave his so-called sanctuary and spend just one day among other people.
Heedless of the gift it is to be them. If I was in their skin, I treasure every instant of their.
Francis can also draw parallels between certain real-life figures and Judge Claude Frollo, who takes no responsibility for his shameful deeds and instead casts blame upon others. Furthermore, the film gives us a chance to reflect on the actual Notre Dame de Paris, which caught fire in April 2019. Reconstruction on the cathedral was halted in March 2020, but once it's safe to come out of quarantine, hopefully we can get back to rebuilding Notre Dame, among other things. How many of you have changed lyrics to Disney songs to cope with this? I can social distance. Anyway, while I get a hold of myself, here are a few honorable mentions.
Some kind of ocular device. The vision to see the treasured past? Let me take this.
Oh, they're like early American X-ray specs.
Benjamin Franklin invented something like these.
I think he invented these.
Welcome to my home. I sleep in these candy wrappers. I bundle myself up like a little homeless lady.
By yourself? With all this garbage around you?
And I, Jack, the Pumpkin King, have grown so tired of the same old thing.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. Tangled.
Hey, you don't look so good, Blondie. Maybe we should get you home, call it a day. Probably better off. This is a 5-star joint after all, and if you can't handle this place, well, maybe you should be back in your tower.
Even a decade after hitting theaters, Tangled has become strangely timely. As many have pointed out on social media, Rapunzel basically spends the first 18 years of her life quarantined in a tower.
Cannibals and snakes, the plague.
No,
yes,
but...
also large bugs, men with pointy teeth, and stop no more, you'll just upset me.
Even more ironic, Mother Gothel keeps Rapunzel from her family, who reside in the kingdom of Corona. Now we know what it's like being in Rapunzel's shoes. Well, Rapunzel doesn't actually wear shoes, but we digress. Despite being detained, Rapunzel finds a variety of ways to keep entertained.
I play guitar and cooking basically. Just wonder when will my life begin?
The fact that she does this in song and with a beautiful head of hair is all the more impressive. In time, however, Rapunzel's life begins, and until our lives return to some form of normalcy, we have Disney to get us through it. Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from MsMojo. And be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.